Nothing is loved in Lincoln, Georgia more than its Red Devils football team. 14 state championships in the small school classification. Georgia's winningest coach in Larry Campbell. More times than any other school as state runners-up. So many trips to the Georgia Dome to play in state playoffs that there's a slogan that arises every year here. We're Domeward bound. 8 times we tend to do that for doting fans. They look for greatness under the Georgia Dome. But sadly, those quests won't be the same thanks to the work of another crew of devils, the legislature, that frolics under the Gold Dome. At the end of a not distant season, the Red Devils won't be Domeward bound, for the legislature decided to bequeath $1.2 billion over the next 35 years of public funds dedicated to the Dome to Arthur Blank, the 90% owner of the Atlanta Falcons football team, in the form of a new stadium to be leased and operated by the Falcons. The stadium cost to put at more than $1 billion, but with all of the cost overruns, probably will exceed Blank's $1.6 billion net worth by the time the new retractable roof stadium is completed. Dastardly deeds that small town folk cannot really comprehend underlie their arrangement. After receiving Blank's hefty campaign donations in recent years, Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle killed a key conservative right-to-work bill that stood in the way. There was a failure to account for the damage that losing $19 million in hotel tax funding and $15 million in profits a year due to the World Congress Center. Then World Congress's own consultant suggested clawback terms or profit sharing with the public in case 90% owner Blank sells the team with the $1 billion stadium lease, but that's not in the final agreement. The legislature under the Gold Dome okayed renewing the hotel-motel tax and using it to build a new stadium in 2011, but after 73% of Georgians stood in opposition, Governor Nathan Deal took negotiation of the final sellout to the Falcons behind closed doors. Then it came to rest in the hands of Atlanta Mayor Kasim Reed, who ran the agreement through a pliant city council. The Falcons and their supporters loudly claimed that the team will be paying $800 million and the public only $200 million. Reed emerged with a final agreement in a press release saying that the public funds are, quote, capped at $200 million, unquote. But if you read the legal documents, the terms say the funding will start at $200 million. Worse than that, analysis of various consultant reports puts public stadium funding at nearly $700 million, with several hundred million more in operations cost funded by hotel-motel tax once the stadium is built. The real numbers look like they're the reverse of what the Falcons claimed. The Georgia Dome that the Lincoln County Red Devils played in is property of the state. 60% of dome use was not even for the Falcons. The state was making $15 million a year while hosting high school, SEC, and NCAA football. Concerns were expressed in negotiations that such events might be, quote, non-economic, unquote, after the Falcons take over operations of the new stadium. After all, they expect the ticket prices will increase 20% and that food and beverage prices will go up nearly 44% to $18 per seat. Can small town folks really afford that? The costs are going to be so high that Mayor Reed's final deal provides public assistance of $3.5 million a year with automatic 2% increases for a total of $184 million to, quote, stage other events, unquote. Other events, according to the legalese, are non-Falcon events, like Red Devil playoff games and all of the other ones that our Dome's profits used to provide for. Last month, the San Francisco 49ers sold their naming rights for their new stadium for $220 million. Georgia and Atlanta gave their naming rights up to the Falcons at no charge in this deal. When this correspondent posed a list of questions to the Georgia World Congress Center before the revised deal was public, they refused to answer. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, where Blank sits on the parent company board of directors, has been silent on nearly all of these things. Oh, and don't expect to hold Nathan Deal of World Congress's Frank Poe to account. They will be retired before the damage is known. In news breaking in June, the Georgia World Congress Center approved this design, which the USA Today Sports calls crazy, writing, "Will this thing actually be built?" Despite these questions, huge cost and conflicts, it appears likely that a perfectly good Georgia Dome will fall to the wrecking ball to yield to the Falcons' new rookery. The public and the Red Devils will find their sellouts under a perfectly intact Gold Dome across town, with the only Domeward bound being lobbyists looking for ever larger blank checks.